So just as a recap for that last part, we talked about the path of the individual, the initiation, and the urgency of our time for those who are called upon um, to go through to be sort of to go under the path where the will to power sacrifices itself, a form of to itself as a form of initiation, and to those who have been called upon to do that and gone. You talked about going to the other side and wanting to share the gifts, so to speak.
Right.
And so what did you come across? What did you see or experience?
What lies on the other side?
Yeah, what lies on the other side?
It's to put it as simply as possible, love. And the story that comes to mind is I read a report of a neurosurgeon who was a brain specialist, but he got meningitis, and basically bacteria invaded his cortex and ate it away, and he went into a coma, and the residents gathered the family like he's going to die because his cortex was eaten away, and he'll be dead in a few days. So say your last words. During that period, he actually came back, and he was coherent when he should not have been coherent, and when he was able to speak more, and actually his cortex started to recover, he talked of a world that he had entered. So it's an example of somebody in an extreme crisis, a spiritual emergency and physical emergency, broke through to something else. And he discovered a reality that was simply soaked in love. And there are many, many reports, near-death experiences, where that kind of discovery is made. People break through a barrier or a threshold. It can be terror or even horror. And what they find if they make it to the other side is a realm of love. So that's researchable. That you can find many examples of individuals, and in fact, near-death experiences have been reported along those lines for quite some time. In my own case, I discovered it through a vision where it was a vision about technological civilization where everything was run by computers, and the goddess, you might say the earth goddess, but she was simply named as the goddess, was being treated as an it by a technological civilization. And this drove her in the vision into a rage, despair, and because she was being held with such contempt. So in the vision, she decided to destroy everything. The rage was the desire to destroy everything. The despair was knowing that to destroy everything would be to destroy herself. So she blew up like a nuclear bomb, except whereas a nuclear bomb sucks everything up, everything came out from her like that and destroyed the civilization. And I was close to ground zero witnessing the whole thing. So I put my head down near to the ground, and the storm blew over me. I could feel it blowing over me. And in the course of that experience, a poem came to me. And it's a poem that I've rendered into art, a very short poem. But it was a poem that acted on me and changed me. And in other words, it was a performative poem. It was a poem that performed its actions in the speaking of the poem, in the vision. Performed its actions. It performed its actions on me while the words were being spoken. And it started off with the goddess filled with rage and despair. I'm paraphrasing right now. Filled with rage and despair, destroying everything and destroying herself in the process. And then, in the poem, the next line was, and how can I feel? How is it possible that I can now feel love filling my heart? Yet it was so. So I wrote out the whole poem. It's probably 6 or 7 lines. But what the poem shows was the actual process of a transformation from horror and terror to an experience of love in the human heart. That's what happened in the vision, and that's what happened to me. So I was taken through this experience of horror and terror to the other side, where totally surprised by feeling love pervade my being. Now that's an example of what's on the other side. And since that time, that was back in 92 or 93, something like that, since that time I've been trying to render that poem into prose and use the language of quantum physics, cosmological physics, philosophy, psychology, you name it, to try and bring that truth, that soul truth, out into the domain of public discourse, you might say. The message being that that the horror, if for the individual who experiences horror coming from within the depths of their own being, if you can stand it, hold it, and that's the cross experience, then it will transform itself into love. And that's the will to power, seeking to sacrifice itself in order to transform itself from power into love. That's it. That's the archetypal foundation in a modern form. The nuclear bomb, as I said, is simply a modern expression of the will to power. And so that dream showed and acted upon me, initiated me into that mystery by my participating in the deep workings of the soul, and being open enough for it to do its work. It transformed itself within the psyche of one individual.